Mayor and City Council. We are here today to discuss consideration of an action on a request regarding an ordinance to adopt facial masks and consideration of an action on a request to consider a special use permit to discharge fireworks. At this time, it is 3:02. I'm going to call the meeting to order as we have a quorum with council members, well, all council members present. So, and if you are not speaking, if you wouldn't mind going ahead and muting your line, because I think there's a little bit of feedback going on, because I think someone might have the internet streaming going on at the same time. So if you could go ahead and mute, that would be appreciated. So, Ms. Moore, if you wouldn't mind putting the ordinance that we are considering, item number 1, if you wouldn't mind sharing that. All right, thank you very much. At this time, this has been distributed to our, again, if you wouldn't mind muting everyone, because I think there is some feedback going on. But this was distributed to everyone, and I trust that you've had the opportunity to review it. At this time, I think it would be appropriate to have some discussion. So I will start with anyone who wishes to be acknowledged. If there is anyone who wishes to discuss this matter.
Okay, I'll go ahead and start. I think it is in everybody's best interest to do what we can locally. We've got a lot of feedback on here. I don't know who joined us that doesn't have a mute mic.
I think it is the number that is ending in 4538.
I think they got it. Okay, maybe not. Anyhow, I think it's in our interest to do everything we can locally. There doesn't seem to be as good a coordination as I would like to see, and we need to protect our own selves and our citizens to the extent we can. And I think some kind of a statement on wearing masks is appropriate. It is the one thing that we know that will not only protect you from others who might be carrying the virus, but equally important, it protects them. And I think that wearing a mask is a sign of consideration for others. And I think in certain circumstances where you're in close proximity and you can't social distance, that a mask is a good thing. So in general, I'm in favor of some kind of proposal that would get most people wearing masks most of the time when they're in close proximity to others. That's my 2 cents.
I'm in favor of an ordinance. Under number 4, where it says, while outdoors, if a person can maintain a minimum of 6 foot from others who are not household members, that makes it pretty vague, where people are outside walking, or you're riding a bike, or you're walking your dog, you don't have to wear a mask. That's the way I interpret that.
And that's the way that I interpreted it as well. I mean, there are a number of exceptions to this ordinance.
That makes it pretty liberal, and I think it's a very good ordinance. I really like it a lot. Under penalties, if you go down to number 2 under penalties, it says second offense and continuing offenses, civil infractions punished by fine not to exceed $50 each day of a continuous violation of this ordinance shall be considered a separate and distinct offense. So are you saying that if you have a second day, that's considered a separate offense? I'm trying to understand that part.
Mr. Denmark?
That's the way it would be interpreted.
That's be my understanding, but let's get Mr. Denmark in.
Sure, Councilman, and good afternoon, everyone. Yeah, a second day would be a separate offense, so it's not like they catch you day one, you get a fine, and then you don't have to wear a mask thereafter because you've already got your one fine. Now, if they catch you day two, it could be a fine. Day three, it could be a fine. So each day is a separate day. It could be a separate offense.
Okay, well, I kind of took it where the second day, if you get caught again, you get a warning. It happened kind of like it was the second time you get caught each day. It kind of, I guess, is the way I took it.
No. Each day is a separate offense. You get that one warning at the very beginning of the process,
Right.
and then every time thereafter, it's a separate fine of $50.
Okay.
$50.
I just wanted to make sure that I was clear on that.
Yes, sir.
I like this very much, and I think we have to step forward. I think we have to do what we can to protect our citizens, to protect our employees, and the people that are visiting our city. So I'm in favor of it.
And just for context, every day at 3 o'clock, I get an email from the Fulton County Emergency Management Authority, and it has highlighted that our confirmed cases for today are 4,484 new cases, which I believe is a new high, because I think 3,000 something last week was the high mark. So, we're at a point right now in this situation where in the last 14 days we have seen almost a quarter of our entire cases being diagnosed in this city, and that is playing out throughout the rest of Fulton County and elsewhere. We are not on a downward trend at this point. In fact, our rate of change was over 350% in comparison to the previous 14 days. So we know in College Park and elsewhere that this disease is spreading, and it is spreading quickly. We also know from the best medical data that we have, that if people wear masks, it helps to reduce that risk of transmission. Certainly not eliminate, but reducing that risk. And as individuals, we may not have risk for ourselves, depending on our own personal situations. But I certainly think it's important as a community that we support those who may be in compromised situations, whether immunocompromised or vulnerable in other ways. So, Councilman Taylor, Councilman Gay, welcome your input.
Well, I definitely agree with what I'm fine with it. I think we need to take a step further and try to get our businesses involved in this. We need to, take that extra step to let our businesses understand that people need to wear a mask in establishments. You know what I mean? So I do like the ordinance. I'm 100% on board with it, but I think we got to take that extra step just to help keep people safe.
This would cover both city buildings and in any building open to the public, not only city buildings. So,
Okay.
But I want. I'm sorry.
Hotel where somebody's walking out of the building, they need to be able to see something that, hey, you're going out into College Park. That would cover that as well, right?
I didn't hear the entirety of your question. I'm sorry.
I'm sorry. That would cover the hotels.
That if you're inside the hotel and you cannot engage in social distancing, yes. If you go back up, Ms. Moore, to the. Thank you. I think the important part of this is that this is not something where if someone's walking their dog, they've got to wear a mask. If you go walk your dog, go out and exercise. maintain social distancing while you're doing it. We're not trying to be draconian here, but if you are in enclosed spaces, wear a mask. We know that it will do good here. Councilman Gay?
Well, I appreciate the ordinance, and I appreciate concern of wearing a mask. I mean, I wear a mask, and I'm concerned when people approach me when they don't have a mask. Unfortunately, I won't support an ordinance that requires people to wear masks because I don't think it's enforceable. I think it's too ambiguous. I think we should support as much education as we can, but I do appreciate the opportunity to draft ordinance, but I think it's ambiguous and unenforceable.
Anyone ever have any other questions or comments?
I think the other thing that I might mention is that even if you're indoors and if you're in a closed small room for a longer period of time, one of the things we've discovered, or scientists have discovered, is that exposure over a period of time is more significant than just instantly passing by. That it affects both. I was watching technical video the other day, but it determines the amount of dosage that you get as well. So if you just get one virus in you, your body may fight it off just fine. These are my words, trying to simplify it. But the bottom line is, if you get a lot of virus particles in you, it's more difficult for the body to fight it off. So, and it depends on the individual. So to minimize the contact, the problem in a small conference room, for example, with recirculating air, you've got an issue if you're not wearing a mask, that air will recirculate and recirculate. So you're increasing the risk. So wearing a mask inside wherever you can, especially if you're in closed quarters. And this is me speaking, not the ordinance speaking. It's important to have a mask on and have everybody have a mask on, from my standpoint.
Well, let me just go ahead and I'll put it out for vote that we vote on adopting the ordinance as it is.
I'll second it.
All right. Any other discussion? All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Any opposed?
Abstain.
Okay.
Abstain.
The motion passes with affirmative votes from Councilman Clay, Councilman Allen, and Councilman Taylor, and Councilman Gay abstains. All right. The second order of business is consideration of an action on a special use permit for the discharge of fireworks. And I think Ms. Moore is working on getting that one up as well. All right. So this one was also distributed to all of you earlier and is based largely in part on an ordinance that the city of Hapeville has. And essentially it requires folks to request a special use permit for the discharge of fireworks within the city. Councilman Clay, I know that you had some questions or concerns about some aspects of it, so I will start with you.
Okay, yes. One area of clarification, I think, is under, let's see, it would be line 43. item C1C. When you're putting out a request, it says the time or times of the requested use of consumer fireworks. So the concern I have is the enforceability, the practicality of actually enforcing this. And let's say I have a family and I have a bunch of kids that we bought some firecrackers and they want to shoot off firecrackers. I don't know what day they want to shoot off firecrackers. It's not just for the 4th of July. They're going to shoot them off maybe before, maybe after, maybe on Memorial Day, maybe mid-June, whatever. It doesn't say in here, it says the time or times requested for use. So could I make an application and say, the time requested is this summer? And what I like about the ordinance is it ties it back to our noise ordinance. So even though you're going to be shooting off these fireworks, you should not be shooting them off at midnight, for example, except on, say, 4th of July or New Year's Eve or what have you, which is allowed, extra noise is allowed at those times in the noise ordinance. So that I think we need a little clarification on. That's one issue. The second issue is, frankly, I'm just concerned that it's not enforceable, and not in the sense that it's not practical, not that it's not legally enforceable, that it's not practical to enforce it. And I just don't know how, if I were the police, and I'd love to hear what the police chief had to say about it. I don't think he's on the connection, but how do you go about doing this? We have a hard enough time right now tracking down gunshots. And frankly, I'm more concerned even about people shooting guns up into the air, which they do all days of the year, than I am fireworks. Although my block was like a war zone on around 4th of July. Everybody was shooting off fireworks. It was fine. I don't have a dog. My dog wasn't terrorized. It's dead. So it was okay. But that's the ambiguity that I have an issue with, ambiguity of what you're getting when you get a permit. And secondly, the issue of how the police are going to actually enforce this thing.
My issue is that this 4th of July, I actually went to the park and saw a very spectacular fireworks exhibit. There was about 30 people there. And I personally lit one myself. I will be having a hard time enforcing an ordinance is something that I enjoy doing. On the other hand, we have a problem with gunshots. I've called the police several times. Juneteenth, 4th of July, I'm more concerned about the gunshots. I just think it's hard to tell people not to shoot fireworks when that's just what we do as a community.
Well, this allows you to do it, Councilman Gay. It does allow you to do it. It's just you have to go to the trouble of getting a permit.
Yeah, I understand.
Councilman Gay,
and depending, that's my point. Depending on the vagueness of the permit, maybe we allow people to go in on mid-May, May 15th, and say, I want a permit to shoot fireworks off for the next 3 months. It isn't specific to that point.
Councilman Gay, are you now? I mean, certainly the state laws surrounding fireworks provide exceptions for New Year's Day, 4th of July, a couple of others. If we did not require a special use permit on those days, would that make you feel more comfortable about this?
Now you're on the right track, Mayor.
I mean, yeah, because there is a lot of noise that I'm complaining about in my own community. In fact, I've actually called police several times, but I also light fireworks on holidays. So if we can balance that out, I'm okay with it.
I think that's an excellent idea, Mayor. If we were to not require use of a permit when on those days that the state already allows exception, then maybe we've got something that we can work with.
Mr. Denmark?
Yes, Madam Mayor. All excellent comments. Starting with the last one first, it would be very easy to carve out the 4th of July, New Year's Day, or New Year's Eve and New Year's Day, when the special use permit requirement would not be in effect under our ordinance. And I also agree with Councilman Clay that we could tighten up the language as it relates to the dates requested for use. Perhaps we would, but how we tighten it up was more of a policy question. That we tighten it up, I would agree legally we should do, but I guess I need direction from the council on how or precisely what tightening we do. So do we want to say you can only pick 5 days and give us the 5 days for this permit, or something like that, or 1 day, or it would be, I need direction on precisely what we say and do. But I think we need to say and do something that gives it a lot more clarity and certainty.
Well, let me make a suggestion in that area then. If we were to say, and I'll pick a period, rather than saying for a specific day, let's say that it would be for a week. And you can name the week. Beginning was a Sunday, or I suppose we could even make it a week that would start any day but run for 7 days. But I'm trying to keep it relatively simple. That way, it wouldn't be indefinite, but it would give people latitude. If it rains on the day you want to shoot them off, then you shoot them off on the day when it doesn't rain that week. So, and that wouldn't open it up too wide. Now, maybe it's 2 weeks. I don't care whether it's 1 week or 2 weeks. I think 3 months is too long. I think a month is too long. I think a specific day and have a permit only work for 1 day is too inconvenient. And if you have kids, they want to shoot off a few this day, they may want to shoot them off the next day, kind of thing. So I think that's something, I think we could work with something like a limited period, like a week.
I didn't think about the rain factor. I don't know why it's been raining all week, but that's a good point. I'm sorry, Councilman Allen, I cut you off.
No, I think that's a great idea. It's, if you've got kids and all of a sudden the kids go to sleep and you want to shoot off fireworks, well, let's wait till tomorrow night, or let's get together 2 days from now. So I think a specific period, like a week. I think a week is good. It's a good period.
Okay, Councilman Gay, Councilman Taylor.
I'm okay with
that.
Yeah.
I think both of you said at the same time you're fine with that.
How are the police going to enforce it? How do they? Have you talked with the police chief?
I have talked with the police chief about it. And he is in favor of having a tool by which they can do some enforcement. Because at this point, I think we've all dealt with some of the fireworks that have been going off prior to July 4th and the disruptions that they've meant for all of us. And I think that from a law enforcement standpoint, there's little that they can do at this point. So having a tool, and I know that we are going to be re-examining the noise ordinance and discussing that as well. I think he just sees it. I hate to put words in people's mouths when they're not here, but our discussions were that he was favorable towards it. So any other questions, comments? Okay. All right. Is there a motion at this time?
Well, I'll make a motion. I'll make a
Okay.
motion to approve it with the condition that we carve out the dates that are already appropriately carved out by the state and put that language in there. And that we would make the permits good for a week.
All right. Is there a second?
I'll second that.
Okay. I think it was Councilman Gay. Was that you?
Oh, that was Councilman Allen.
Oh, okay. All right. Councilman Allen. All right. So Councilman Allen seconded. All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Any abstentions? All right. That passes unanimously. Well, gentlemen, I appreciate it. If there's no further business, we can go ahead and adjourn. It is
Party
3:28.
time.
All right. I hope everyone has a great weekend.
Okay, you too.
Thank you.
Good night, all.
Good night.